I like that word.
Another nice thing. He gives you a word bank of adjectives.
So what you say?
He gives you a word bank of adjectives. Yeah, no, it's great. It's a really easy class. Just
I
that
love that.
true / do you want to?
But nobody said anything.
It's okay if not.
Anyway, so
I do.
overall, I think I made some.
I don't love to do that.
Yeah.
I understand.
But I
Two people
want
came
to.
forward, they want
What
to
is
be.
Yeah, so basically.
So I
you
told
know,
them that
like
Chris has to
design
make up
teams
his
and
mind by the
eventually
time we have our budget meeting.
No. Things like this, quiz bowl,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Those are the type of organizations that are funded.
Okay, I also wasn't sure like what.
And so we just get that grade, we get to help fund it for their yearly expenditures, or whatever, whether it's travel, tournament fees, all that type of stuff. So we kind of go through and figure out how much to fund. It'd probably be like handfuls.
Well, I.
Is there even enough room?
Something like that.
Even then, they don't like it. And I just think of it.
I was gonna filter requests.
I think trades.
Either request for information or request them to show up. Requesting
Right.
You need to find one.
That's the only in the practice.
Yeah.
But I would
You
talk
will.
to-
Yeah. Because you show up with their.
Appreciate it.
I
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
They're not gonna pick them up.
This is another thing. I'll give you like a trend.
Yeah.
As an
Wait.
approved
Next
activity.
week, so I'll be in DC.
Yeah, that's something I
These are
don't.
all like later this week.
It's like
Wait.
outside good time to
Chat about everything.
No.
Put it all in.
Yeah, after the meeting.
I fight hard, I play hard.
That's how cool that would be.
It would be cool. It'd be
I
badass.
appreciate it. Thanks so much.
No problem.
They're coming.
It's kind of been my role this semester, is filling in for like
Yeah.
everyone.
How's the? How have your last 4 weeks been? In regards to certain things.
Good and learning.
And I want that to be face to face. not
That's
over.
good.
Research is just not.
Competition teams.
He's looking at me.
This people are drives me nuts. This little.
Right.
Not.
Good people.
Stop.
Whatever you choose, there's still gonna be besties in the rooms.
How many are there in the?
Looks like we got 4 on Zoom right now.
Oh, that's.
And that's like my. Being associated with that.
Adrian, or it is Michelle instead of Michael.
No relation. She
Not
was
even-
over. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just have to check. So we'll-
Spirit that now. Man, we must not.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Now, even then, I was going to stop.
How are you, Josh?
Really? Oh, yeah, down, how is it down? That doesn't.
Is this something that you had in the
I
dream?
checked three
You're
more.
so good at
Found
it.
it in there.
You're just like on the other side of your voice and like everything.
Oh, thanks. You should hear Executive John's execution. He was speaking 4 or 5 years ago. He just has the perfect speaker voice. Best I've ever heard. That's totally cool.
Awesome, thank you.
I was gonna say you should have sent it.
Hey everyone, we'll wait just a couple more minutes just in case people are running late, but thank you so much for being here.
No. Yes. how's it going? No.
Oh, yeah.
Or are they gonna put all the slides?
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. So I will work the slides, I'm just like,
Better.
Tyler is like-
Are you sure it's my good server?
So I'll just email that to you. That'll make it super easy.
It's in Peterson.
I think.
Or is there just like a dedicated space for
I
it?
think it changed because before space force was made, it was within the Air Force, we used the space command, which was headquartered at. US Space Command. I don't know if the base changed, but I know that's.
So what?
What department you are in?
I am
Maybe they're like
working on economics and political science.
Okay.
Business.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello. Oh, are you?
You're the college of business.
Called out the shop.
So that's nice.
What department you are in?
You got like
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
Let me.
Did you get a reply?
That is really cool. Yeah, this meeting is my
What department?
Yes, I'm so sorry about that.
How many questions do you think?
Calvin Hall.
Yeah, they're over in the College of Business, I
What
know.
department you are in?
I'm sorry.
What department you are in?
Yes, so room
It's very
46.
All Calvin Hall people.
I'm pretty sure she's.
Calvin?
Yeah.
Calvin's Calvin.
Everything. You are the odd person now.
I'll let Michael know that. You're here.
That's my only question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm so sorry about that.
What department you are in?
Best of luck with that meeting later.
Thank
you.
Technology.
Oh, biochemistry. Yes.
Different. You probably are in a different room. Yeah. In Winner. Yeah.
I would have noticed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also.
Well,
Catch them all.
I'm glad you're very inquisitive.
Max Harmon is something I look at and like, don't give me all these questions.
Oh, I am the absolute bane of anybody trying to make a decision.
Max Harmon, so either way.
Okay, that just got sent to
Max
you.
Harmon.
I will go back. That was aggressive.
It was very. I died. At a table.
So I'll go ahead and start with them all.
Yeah, I was at a table.
Right.
It was like dying.
Very, just say hello.
Oh, yeah, interviews?
What department you are in? What department you are in?
Psychological sciences.
Like, I'm cheering.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Or another one.
Right.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for your patience and for being here today. So we are, as I get this moved over here, welcome. We are here for our second meeting of our college tuition committee, and this is going to be a question and answer session with Dean Chakrabarty here today. You all submitted some questions last time, and we're going to be going over those first, just addressing those questions, and then we will open up the floor for any additional questions that either arise from that or just anything in general. once that process is over, if we still have some extra time at the end of today, I'll go ahead and ask our two guests to leave at the end of that, and we'll just begin having discussion, and our vote and discussion will happen next week. So that is what our future timeline looks like there. Yeah, question really quick. Yes, that meeting will also take place here. So with that, before we get into our question and answers, we're going to run through a quick roll call at the beginning of the meeting instead of the end this time. So Adrian, I'll leave it to you.
Alexa Shear. Austin Rook. Bryant McFarlane.
Here.
Cole Baker. Drew Wallace. Durga. Manny.
Here.
Evan Porter. Garrison Funk. Gus Schonhorst. Jackson Willis.
Here.
Jessica Binkley. Jesse Schumann. Josh Barron. Justin Castellati. Kate Thomas.
Here.
Kennedy Muntz. Kaiser Meanier.
I'm here.
Levi Bradley. Marta Richenberg. Max Harmon.
Here.
Michelle Cole.
Here.
Noah Coker. Reese Willis. Sarah Wallace. Slava. And Taylor Vargo.
I'm here.
Send a roll.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Really quick before we get started, on Zoom, you all can see the PowerPoint presentation, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So with that, get this so it'll work. This is for you, Dean Chakrabarty, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dean Chakrabarty. And yeah, the floor is yours.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here on a cold afternoon, but it gives me a chance to show off my purple scarf. So yeah, that I would not have done a day ago, right? Right. Okay, thank you again. And thank you for asking all these questions that took us some time to answer and put together. I'm very impressed, I have to tell you, very honestly, the kind of questions you've asked, that means you actually have paid attention to the things that I have said, and you also are curious types, the types that become successful in life, So I'm very impressed, very, very impressed. So we will answer some questions. Some questions are more involved. So just looking at the answer that he put in there may not make much sense to you. So this is why I'm here. Some of them are a bit straightforward. And so the answer there may be just an answer. But once again, if there are questions related to that, I'll be very happy to answer. And if I'm stuck, you know who is going to help me. This is Dean Culbertson. Yeah, he is the one who runs the program, knows way more than me, but he has helped me to understand all the nuances. I know the broad picture, but he knows the nuances better than me. Okay, with that, let's move on. So here is the first set. You may have to give me permission to use this. Okay. So the first question was an overview of distribution of the GU budget. And so we have put together there from your budget, GU budget. So you can see that in the budget has three parts to it. One is that there is the tuition revenue and subvention that comes from the university. Mainly the subvention money actually comes from the state, the state general funding. And there's some college fees, that's university fees that comes, some part of that comes back to us. And then we have to pay our bills to these service centers there's 7 service centers, as you know, the president's office, well, different names, general administration, and then academic administration, which is the provost's office, student services, IT, library, facilities, and the vice president's office. So these are the research. So these are some of the fees that we have to pay. There is a way to compute these fees. So although we generate 96 million, let's say in fiscal 20, and we went down to 88.8, you can see that down. We have to pay the bills, and then after that we have our operating budget that we have for the college. Now, if you look at the fiscal 22, we have an estimate there because of the following things. This budget, you can see that fiscal 21 to 22, we have a little bit of an increase, but this budget is set in the beginning with making some approximations and assumptions about how many students will come in fall. The budget is set, in June. So at that time, we don't have the enrollment for the next year. So there's some estimates that's come in. So this year, our real budget will be about $4 million less. So it will be, instead of 54, or rather, revenue for instruction is 59. So this is our broad budget that will go down for $4 million. This year, though, we have been very, very grateful that there's some federal funding, one-time funding coming our way, called HERE funding, or so many different names and acronyms, I forget. But $4 million coming our way this year, one time, so there will be no callbacks. But that will not happen next year. So next year, it will not remain at this number. It will be at least $4 million less, maybe a little bit more less, depending on how enrollment looks like in fall. So I want to bring that to your attention. And then this is what the college gets. And then you can see that the fees money that we get is about 4% or so, and not part of instructional revenue that is about 5.5%, and then stays at that range. It went up, and it will be actually a little bit more or less depending on how the budget cut comes in. It stays around that, so it's a 5% kind of effect. And also, the two things that will be of interest to you is that how much the college spends on the GTAs, because that's part of a question that came in. So the college pays in two ways, the GTA stipend and the GTA waiver. If you add that, this will be about $6 million. And the fees money that comes in should be compared to that. And the fees money, GTA supplement is about $2 million. It's there. So it's 1.82. So you can see that it's $6 million that college is supporting from its GU, and we are asking for 1.8. With that, I'm moving on to the next slide. Okay. Travel and scholarships is what how much has been budgeted. So here you can see that. Here you can see that in 2017, the budgeted was 150,000. That was the target for our proposal, and the actuals were varying a little bit. We can absorb and so on and so forth. But then we realized that the budgeted has to be less, and so the money that we could support the students for is about half. In 22, you can see this is 1/6. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm standing here in front of you to help us. Okay, so then we move on to the next question. I'm lost again. Why does it do that?
Sorry, I clicked up there, try to get rid of that top thing.
Ah.
and it got off your PowerPoint.
I see. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, so the similar question came for research. So that was the travel, and this is the research part. And if you look at that, that budgeted was 125, and so we spent 120, and it went down again to 25,000, and we spent, I think, 30,000, because we have a tiny bit of money left over from the previous year. In the COVID era, not many students traveled or took advantage of the research. And the labs also were hibernating in many departments. So we have a little bit of money for, again, one-time thing. But you can also see what's happening to the research money for students. This is all this money goes to the students. All this, yeah. Then the next question is, this is a more interesting way, is that how does the classroom lab supplies and then connected to fee generation, request, and approve. So let's pick up one department, maybe, mass communication. There are 3 different colors here. So how much fee that department generates, and the red one is how much they think that they need for successful students, and this much then we give. So the point here is that the correlation is not between how much money they make, but how much the department thinks the need for the students to be successful. This is the way the college works. The college, if the college runs every department as an island, every department will suffer. And that's the way that the real truth is for the College of Arts and Sciences. So this is why if physics brings in a big grant, philosophy is very happy, because part of that money actually will help students and other services there, faculty development and all that. It's an ecology. Truly, it is an ecosystem that the whole college is. That they are so what I would ask you to focus on is how much a department think they need for the students to be successful. That's the number that we look at and try to go as much as we can to balance that. Then let's go, that's the same thing is in numbers. Okay, so what else the college is doing in philanthropic thing? So our goal this fiscal is raised 10.5 million in private funding. Some of that is directly in scholarships. College's scholarship budget, immediate budget is over $2 million that we pay. And but this year we have been very lucky. We raised about 19 million. Some of that is direct, some of that is deferred. And so we are setting the stage for a very, very successful, productive K-State. So I actually asked Foundation, because we have raised a lot of money in last few years that I've been here. We broke our college record once while I was dean, and I think this year we might break that, because our college record has been 21 million in 2017 the year I started. And this year we are already at 19 and we still have a few months. So in any event, I asked Foundation, when is that expectation that all the deferred money going to come? And they have a broad distribution, but 2037 is when we will see an immediate peak. So I told them I'll not be a dean then, but I'm going to be back, perhaps in a wheelchair or something. But I want to be back and remind the dean that, hey, this is our work. Yeah, okay. All right, so joking aside, this is what the college has done. The college had participated in the innovation campaign, and our target initially was 100 million, then it was raised to 125, and then we actually surpassed that goal and went to 137. Is that what it is? 135 is what I remember. So we surpassed that goal, and much of that money went into supporting our star faculty, our students, and so on. So here is some things that, so fiscal 21 numbers, the latest that we have, 1,000 students received scholarships. If you count all those money, it goes to about 2 million from the college. And there are various other things that we have done. And our endowment is now at 96 million. Actually, it's 100 million now. That was our 2025 target. So it's 22, and we are surpassing that. So college is doing other things. It's not just that being supported by fees money. They're doing all sorts of other things to run the college, and we need that. Yes, so how has the ability to hire a professional advisor has helped? So the professional advisor, this is actually for MTD. There's a question about specific questions about MTD, how the fee has helped MTD. So I need to bring that to your attention. So MTD has a, in music theater dance. So this professional advisor is integral, and these are the things that we have discussed with the department head. This is not just Chris and I sat down and wrote some answers. We actually talked with Jeff Ward, who is the director of music theater dance. And so he talks about that, how it's integral in advocate our students and increased our graduation rates. And GTA stipend, this has allowed us to attract high quality GTAs to teach and tutor our undergraduates. The tutoring part is important in MTD because many of these things are one-on-one. It's very special, right? Music lessons are very, very special. And then we talked about classroom and lab supplies because of the need of equipment. These fees have been integral in our ability to purchase instruments and microphones for classes. So you can see that the impact has been really strong. And they also had undergraduate teaching assistants, which is a very good thing for our students, because if you take a job in Aggieville, yes, you're learning something. I mean, working outside, always a learning experience. But if you take a job in your department or a related department, then you are also in some sense working for yourself. And that's a big part of our education. So that's that. And then it has helped with replacing new replacing to professional grade equipment. And budget affected your department. Yes, we have had to limit some of our instrument repair needs to most critical and defer routine maintenance and cover emergency repairs. Furthermore, we have been unable to replace aging instruments. So we have these aging issues in everywhere, the aging software, the aging instrument, the aging equipment to run the labs, and so on and so forth. So that's why a continued support of the lab and classroom supplies is so important, where we are way behind. Okay, so this question is about the fixed costs. Is what does it mean for a fixed cost of running a GTA? And along with everything else, our GTA numbers has been less as well. And so, but when you have the GTAs, you need to support them. So if you are, our GTA numbers are now down from what, 450 to how much? How many? 326. Yeah. So from 450 to 326. So that number on anything else has gone down. So, and the question is very pertinent because that's not a fixed cost. We are not supporting 450 GTAs. Along with everything else, that number has gone down as well. But it's a fixed cost in the sense that once you decide to hire that many GTAs or whatever the number that is, you need to support them. You cannot just say, hey, my student enrollment has come lower than expected, so you are done. We are done with you 6 months down the road. Yeah.
has the decline in enrollment in the college been proportional with the decline in the number of GTAs, or have we lost more GTAs than we've lost?
Very thoughtful question. Yeah. So some departments have lost more GTAs percentage wise. And the reason for that is, so we have a budget cut, let's say the 4% budget cut, but 90% of our money is in people. And who are the people? People are tenured faculty. And you cannot just say that we have a budget reduction, so you will not have a job. They're tenured. You need much more than that to come to that. And you don't want to work that either, because in higher education, you cannot just let go someone when there is a downturn and expect to hire them back when things improve. It doesn't work that way, right? I mean, this is knowledge, skill that we are after, talent. It's not cheap, not easy to find, particularly when we are in the middle of the country. So there's all sorts of things that one needs to keep in mind in deciding that, but you still have to balance the budget, right? So the flexible part there are the GTAs, because somebody graduate and you say, I'm not going to take a new one. It's not that you let someone go midstream, but if somebody graduates, you don't hire as many. And it is painful, but it's less painful than non-rehiring an instructor and so on and so forth. So that's what affected some departments. Yeah, sure.
I need your mic.
You need my microphone.
Oh, that was me typing. I've got a chat up here too.
So I just wanted to say, so we have lost about 30% in undergraduate student enrollment. The GTA numbers are down about 22%. Faculty numbers are down about 20%. Instructor numbers are down closer to 30%. So we're making cuts all across the board. And what happens is we have to commit to a certain number of GTAs before we know what this final budget is. So that's why it's fixed when the budget comes. But one of the things the departments do is they decide when they have to make a cut, where they need to make a cut. And so what they can do is just offer fewer GTAs to the incoming class. So one of the things you'll notice if you look at the number of GTAs, especially with the pandemic, the number really dips in the first and second year, right? And so, hopefully if we start growing again, we can increase that number.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chris. Yes, so that's what happened. The GTAs, you ask for a call in November to January, and then you hired them in April. April 15 is the whole country deadline. So you make a commitment by then, and now your budget is not even set by June 30th. Yeah, okay. So that's the GTA related question. If I move on, what are the undergraduate learning assistants? Someone wanted to know. And so learning assistants are that, before I get into that, I'll give you a general philosophical thing, is that we want our students not just take classes and take an exam, but also participate in creating knowledge, which is research, and also be part of our instructional team. So if you have done well in a class, then you can come back and be part of that class, and it happens more easily in studios or labs. But also, I mean, there are departments who are using undergraduate students. They don't have a GTAs, they don't have a PhD or master's program. So things like, gender, women, and American ethnic studies, they are using this LS to help them. And in physics and anthro doesn't have a graduate program, so undergraduates are hired there. And chemistry also, and then physics, the undergraduates often hired to teach labs or participate with graduate students. For example, a physics studio will have 10 stations, 40 students, and just having one GTA there is not enough, because you cannot answer the questions. You want to walk from one table to the other. Having an undergraduate student who has done well, knows the situation very well, because just went through that rough period, And so having that person there often creates a good environment for the next set of students. That's what learning assistants are. The question is a significant cost and what's happening at the university level to break the silo, what is being going on. And so here, the university is creating a task force has created a task force to look into all these softwares. And there are many things, there are some licenses there, but also the licenses that even if you have to use as many licenses in our college, you may have to put some extra money. For example, Adobe Pro is one such example that is used in multiple departments, and that's an extra money that the college has to put forward. The college also, remember, also have to put forward money for IT services. So although, and this is very interesting to note, although that the college pays for a service center fee, IT also charges us when they work with other departments on top of that. So there's a minimum service, and there is a service that anything beyond that you'll be charged for. So there are many things that happens. Moving on, what training and oversight for the advisors? The advisors have a significant number of professional development opportunities. The assistant dean of students provide the training. They also, NACADA provides a lot of webinars. So this is a national organization. We're very thankful that this organization is located in Manhattan, Kansas. So they create all sorts of webinars and in-person sessions. COVID has dampened some of that. And advisors also attend professional conferences supported by the college, particularly if they're in the nearby places, then, it doesn't cost a lot. And we have done that in the past. Yes, so further question to Alison Whitley. So she's our Dean of Students, and she actually works with the Dean's Office advisors, which are for interdisciplinary programs and open options. But she also works with the departmental advisors, which is the new addition, new means last few years additions to the crew. Okay. Variety of ways to fund undergraduate research besides the fees money. So one is of course, the college fee, $1,000 per semester up to 2 semesters. So this comes directly from the fees money. The Johnson Cancer Center, practically 95% supported by private money. And this is where one of our big fundraising that effort goes into. And Chapman Center for Rural Studies, this is also privately funded with some college money, and lots of fundraising goes into that. They support large number of undergraduate students. So this is Cambridge, and is a grant that supports Kansas. So this is kind of a joint grant between our university and others, and this supports infrastructure and students, so students can get supported from that. And then individual grants. A faculty member may have an individual NSF grant, NIH grant, DOE grant, and say that, hey, I have some money, would you work for me? So that's the traditional model, but it's still there. And the university level undergraduate research, they also have some money for undergraduate research, and now the students can compete with all university students to get funding from them. But even with all these things, there is a large number of demands, because students understand the value of it to be successful, whether they want to further their education, go to graduate school, to medical school, or to get a job. This is what counted very much, that you have done things that beyond your taking a class and taking an exam. Yes, Chris, please.
So I like to think of these undergraduate research scholarships that the fees monies provide as a starter, same thing like a starter job. So a student who has no experience, it's hard to actually get a PI from a lab to hire you because they don't know anything about you. You know, are you going to show up or not, regularly? So the fees money actually provides that student the ability to say, hey, I've got my own money. I can come work for you for 10 hours a week consistently. And so once they've done that like once or twice, oftentimes they can then get paid by the PI, or they become a good candidate for a Johnson Cancer Center scholarship or a K. Inbray scholarship. And so we sort of see this as sort of that initial sort of get your foot into the door into research, and that's what that fee's focused on for our students here.
Thanks, Chris. See, I told you that he knows all the nuances in great depth. This is an important insight that otherwise students will not be picked up by a faculty member, and the fees allows that a student to have their own money and can decide to work with anyone they want. This is a very, very important model for our student success. Okay, now, yeah.
Are any graduate research assistantships funded via student fees?
No, only travel, only travel. But some of these centers, Johnson Center particularly, they also support graduate students who are participating in research. But these are not general things. The Johnson Cancer Center or Chapman Center, they will only fund undergraduate or graduate students who match with their mission. This is here. The mission is fight against cancer. Here is, you can see that in the name, rural studies. So these are not general student support, but it has to be aligned with the mission. What is the question here? From a friend, okay. What percentage of enrolled undergraduate students are international students and what percentage of out of state? So here we have the numbers. So this is fall 17. In state was 75, out of state 24.5. And you can see that country description. So we have 92% in United States, and all these numbers add up to maybe 7 or 8. We can do much better. This is one of the discussion we had with our new president actually yesterday. That one of the things we discussed, or rather, what are the opportunities? And I was part of a team. We said that international students would be a great thing, but we have to be very proactive and come up with good plans so that the international students actually come from a wide variety of countries rather than from one or two, where we want them to make individual decisions and not group decisions. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have a question? There is a no. Okay.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah, sure.
So those numbers are actually for both undergraduates and graduates. So if you just look at undergraduates, about 98% are US citizens and only 2% come from foreign countries. A lot more of our graduate students come from foreign countries. So just to let you know that, yeah, the undergraduate numbers look a little bit different than the graduate.
That's a very, very good point. Yeah. All right. So somebody asked the specific success rate. And so we have our, so this color, whatever that color is, purplish. That color is 6-year graduation rate, but that ends at 2015 because this is the one that actually graduating now. Although it's put in 2015, it's the 2015 incoming class. And that success is 64%. And so it went up in 2013 from 60 to 64. You can see some, I don't know whether you call it jump or not, but there is an appreciable jump from 13 to 14 graduation rate, and that has some relevance with fees. I mean, it's very difficult to say one-on-one correspondence. This is the question that came up last time, right? But you can see some jump. So at least you're on the right path, whatever the effect is, the fees might be doing some of that, but we are doing something good in student success. You can see that, well, the first year retention rate went up by about 5%, but then COVID hit and then we are down a little bit. We'll come back. We'll come back.
And the previous fee increase was in 2013, is that right?
2013, yeah. 2014, yeah, but the process was done in 2013, yeah. How many GTAs will be in each department? So we have that list. So you can see that, well, thing to note is that practically every department, this has gone down. So 418 to 325, as we said. And so you can see some of the lab heavy departments has large GTAs. Math doesn't have lab, but they have so many sections that are taught by GTAs in for our freshman class. So the GTAs participate in student success, in a big undergraduate student success, in a big way. And you want talented, you want capable GTAs, and not just capable in their discipline, but also capable in the classrooms that they're working on. In terms of percentage, department and tuition and other things. So overall, we went over that. This is a question that we went over. About 4 to 6% of the total budget that goes for the fees. That was my first slide. Yeah, what the retention number, does it count transfer students? No, the way that the planning and analysis does the retention is someone has to start in K-State and finish at K-State. GTA, so we have answered these questions. I'm not going to go over that. And here is a question that came up in the context of enrollment trend. And I cannot show you the Kansas numbers, but is it possible to lift that thing? Yeah, okay. So you can see the Kansas numbers are remaining. This is the best case scenario. You know, all these projections, these are still projections. So we are at a high school graduate number from 2018 to 19. We're staying flat, but after that, there is actually a drop. So, and Iowa has an increase from 33 to 35, and Kansas is 33 to 33.5. So there's not much change really.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
So just so everybody knows, so someone just asked me about recruitment, what are we doing to help improve recruitment? And so there's a lot that we are hiring an additional person in the dean's office to focus on that and to coordinate better with departments. But I just wanted to mention that we have an overall demographic challenge in this country. The number of high school students graduating is going to peak in 2026. And from there, it's going to decrease all the way through almost 2040 now because of the pandemic and sort of the birth dearth that's happened in the last couple of years. And so in Kansas, the number of high school students graduating in 2036, 2037 is expected to be 15% less than today. So that's going to be a huge drop there. You're going to put you down around, less than 30,000, right? And so that's one of the issues. The other issue that's going to come up in the next slide is the number of students actually going to college and to the Regency institutions has dropped from 54 to 48%. So there's lots of students that are, especially now with the new infrastructure bill, lots of students are deciding, hey, I could go out and get a construction job and it's going to pay me really well for the next couple of years. I don't need to go to college right now. So we have those two trends going against us, and pretty much in the entire country, that same issue is occurring. And so recruiting it's not just that we are doing a bad job of it, it's just that there are fewer students around and there's excess higher ed capacity in the country. It's going to peak. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's going to peak only a couple, I mean, we're close to the peak right now.
yeah. If this is the peak, I don't want to see the jump from the cliff.
But it'll from 26 down to 36. Between that time is 15% decrease.
So why do we care about 36? We care because if we hire a tenure track faculty today, that faculty will be tenured and still with us. So you have to think through this when you make your hiring decisions for faculty. That's why we still think about 36. One thing that I will point out, on top of everything else, there's a national trend that not to major in College of Arts and Sciences. It comes from a very false, absolutely false perception that if you are in arts and sciences, then you may not, this is not a technical degree that you will get a job. Well, let's look at the numbers. So pre-COVID, arts and sciences placement rate was 98%, better than the university's average of 96. And post-COVID last year, through a global pandemic, our placement rate was 94%. For our PhD, it's 100%, 100. Harrison.
Of those 98 and 94% that added jobs, how many of those jobs were actually related or directly related to their field studies?
That we do not know, because the question that we asked the students, first of all, this survey that the Career Center sent in K-State, about 20 to 30% students actually fill those, which is a huge number nationally. Nationally is about few percent students who fill that. So I would not really trust the national numbers as much. But if you get a 20, 30%, you get some sense of it. So it asks whether they are employed or they have gone to further their studies. And, so that's the kind of information that they would share with us. From this doesn't come from the college. This comes from the career center. I believe that whatever job they do, whatever, the College of Arts and Sciences, a degree in this teaches them to do whatever they want to do. So how do I know that? Well, let's look at the Fortune 500 company CEOs. What are their degrees in? How many of them are degrees in business than degrees in arts and sciences? You can check it out yourself and you'll be surprised.
Teacher Party, we had one question on Zoom. So with the drop in these demographics, does the new fee structure allow the college to maintain with primarily graduate population? Is what the question reads.
What's the graduate population? What does that mean? Well, what this new fee allows us is that, okay, maybe that's what they meant.
Sorry, he just said with a lower undergraduate population.
Okay, all right. Yes, so what it allows us to do is to provide the same kind of quality education that we provide to our undergraduate students. That there is an advantage of a large group, that the fee can be smaller and yet can help everyone else, right? Because there's a fixed costs on that you have to maintain. So we really believe that if with this increase in the fee, that we will be able to provide really top-notch education and student success the way that we have been doing to our students.
So the fee is sort of reviewed every 3 years, right? So this is sort of like a 3-year cycle. And like I said, the number of high school graduates can remain about constant or increase for the next couple of years. So we can make it up on recruitment. There's also going to be a lot of small colleges going out of business. So that's going to decrease the excess capacity in higher ed, which can bring us potentially more students. And so we have actually factored in terms of our proposed fee, these types of, changes in higher ed for the next couple of years. So those have been factored in, and we thought about those as part of this fee proposal to make sure that we have sufficient resources to help students achieve the goals of that fee.
Yeah, so generally speaking, without getting into a lot of details, is that we believe that this fee will make our students as successful as we had with our groups in recent past. Yeah, so what are we doing on recruitment? I touched on it last time, but I will go over this. So we are hiring a new director for the college, recruitment director for the college. This person will work with ORA, the Office of Recruitment and Admissions, and also with the department's efforts to bring together. And we are increasing scholarships for our merit and need based. Our scholarships used to be more on the merit side, and we are revisiting all of those to put need into the picture and not just use a flat cutoff GPA or whatever number that could be just for the scholarships. And then we are reaching out to high school teachers and guidance counselors, inviting them to bring their class to campus and paying for their trip. We're increasing our social media presence. We just have participated in a social media blast marketing, paid, not just the college thing, college website or college social media sites, but participating in paid advertisement for the college. That actually has helped some of the numbers this year. And then we are going to use K-State Olathe to do recruitment in Kansas City, Johnson County, and a nearby county area. We are teaming up with College of Engineering because both of our colleges are seeing similar kind of drops from that part of the state. And so teaming up with them makes perfect sense to go after the students.
I think you should tell them about the match for the incoming freshmen and the retention scholarships that you established.
Yeah, there's so many things that's going on. And so what Chris is talking about is to add that this year the college is putting a matching part to the scholarships that the departments provide. So 50% match if a department gives a scholarship to a student, college would match 50% for freshmen. The college also have created a large number of retention scholarships that we are using. So our scholarship structure is now very, very different than what it used to be. Okay, what is the next thing? Yeah, so free breakdown, how does that number of students in each college? Yeah, so the fees are paid based on the courses taken, because the expenses are connected to the course, not expenses connected to the majors all the time. Although there are some, but particularly the courses, whatever your major in, if you're taking the course, that there will be a cost, and because of this so-called service courses, and that cost could be enormous. And so that's why we're asking for the fee for the course based and not just on the major. Kirsten.
Backtrack a little bit back to scholarships.
Yeah.
As a transfer student, I'm painfully aware of how little financial aid K-State provides transfer students. Is there anything that?
Yes, good point. So what's happening is that, so again, giving you more details, the college scholarships things in the past was very simple. We had so many Putnam scholars to fund. before even we look at them, Central takes all the money. And so then that's very simple. We didn't even have a scholarship committee because there's nothing left after the Putnam. Now that model has changed. We have some money to support. And this is the first year that we are doing that. This is the first year that ORA is bringing the colleges and departments into the mixture. So I think this is kind of a pilot for us, and the transfer students we have not done yet, but this is the thing that to do for next year, to set aside a large sum of money for transfer students as we are doing for returning students. So transfer students will be treated like returning students in some form. So to support them, that's coming. That's coming in a larger format. Yeah, you are right on track. We are not doing well on that. And yet that's the population that's growing for our college. Yeah. Okay, so, oh, okay. It actually ended. All right. Thanks, everyone, for your very thoughtful and detailed questions. We actually enjoyed that you are so interested. We enjoyed that part very, very much. And if there are other questions, I'll be very happy to entertain.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Similar to last time, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor for any more questions. If you're in person, I will run the mic back and forth. And then on Zoom, if you just want to type in the chat that you have a question, I will get to you at that time. So I'll go ahead and open up the floor. Are there any questions for Dean Chakrabarty? Max, I know you've got one in there somewhere. Yeah. Any questions from anyone on Zoom? You got one? Nice.
Can you just talk a little bit more about what's tying up those philanthropy increases? That's super cool. I had no idea that the college had done so well in increasing philanthropic goals. I know a lot of that is tied up in deferment, but there was a lot of increase in one-time gifts as well. Is all of that going into the endowment? And yeah, can you talk a little bit more about why there's such a delayed timeline on seeing some benefits from that?
Yeah, so, okay, so private fundraising is very different in the way it's done and the way that you connect to a donor, right? So if you're writing a grant proposal, you tell NSF how great you are and no one in the world can do this kind of research, right? That's the way you do. But when you are talking to a donor, you have to match with the donor's passion. And so the way that MOU is written, that's what you need to follow, right? But you also try to present a few things on that. This is my job more than my development officers, is to connect to the donors and point out where they can make major impact, right? So, and this is where scholarship comes in, and need plus merit-based scholarship come in, and we're seeing a lot of growth on that, in that front. The second thing that I am doing with the donors is, so let's say they put $1 million on their estate, a deferred gift. So I tell them, okay, this will be fantastic. I'll not be there. You'll not be there. I want you to live another 50 years, things like that. But you want to also observe and experience the success that comes with your gift. So why not, if the $1 million makes $4,000 or $40,000, then why not pay that $40,000 as part of that gift that will support whatever that you want to achieve at K-State. This is new. This is something that we are doing new, to asking them on top of that to go on and paying that till the deferred gift becomes active. And we are seeing some growth in there also. But much of it has gone to retain our star faculty. In many cases, we have put that money to our facilities, along with other monies. not in the building ways, but inside the building, there's a lot of needs. And then Chris can give you a laundry list if you want. We have also done some renovation of research labs, research space in old buildings. And mostly it went to scholarships. There is some money that's connected to interdisciplinary programs and funding, faculty excellence and all that. That's more broad, but those numbers are not as large as scholarship numbers.
All right. Any other questions out there? Just as a reminder, this is our final meeting with Dean Chakrabarty and Assistant Dean Culbertson with us. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them out.
Given the such long-term nature of hiring decisions, even only for grad students, let alone for tenure track faculty, how, this is going to be really broad and vague, but how are you factoring that into your decision-making process? What kind of changes has the college been making in terms of, are there plans? Are we reducing the amount of tenure track faculty? Are we continuing on as if like this is just a temporary bump because that is such a long-term planning method? Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? And especially in the microcosm of this fee, we're already extending offers for next year's class of graduate students. So how are you planning for either scenario of whether this fee is approved or not?
Well, now you're really getting into the juggling act that you do. And it's a big juggling act, right? You hope that not everyone won their money on the same day, and this is the way you survive. But the planning that goes into is that there's some attrition of faculty, whether someone retires or someone leaves. And at that point, you make a decision where you want to hire. It's not that in a previous era of funding, it's pretty much guaranteed that if you lose a faculty, you will be able to hire someone. The lines belong to the department. No such thing. College has moved away from that completely. The departments don't own any faculty lines. They have to make a case. And what kind of case they're going to make? The case has to be made for scholarly work, because if it's just instruction, we can hire top-notch teaching assistant professor or instructors. So it has to be scholarly work. And scholarly work could be just right now that I've been working with one situation where they want a string player in music theater dance. We're doing a kind of a stopgap with a temporary hire, but literally to attract students who want to major playing with strings, you cannot just say that, no, my budget is bad, I'm not going to hire a string player. That's the kind of thing that you cannot make just sitting at the dean's office. You have to go talk to the department. You need to learn, talk to the department head and the faculty and share their concerns and their excitement that if we get this, we'll be able to do that. It's not all science in the sense it's not run by a spreadsheet. There is a lot of art in there, learning, listening, and trying to balance the best you can. It's a very complex job, very, very complex job. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you.
So if you look at the last 5 years in terms of our faculty hiring, it was 16, 12, 17, 5, 3, right? And so in realizing, as Dean Chakrabarty said, is that we're just trying to make very strategic hires and for places where there's critical needs. And then our instructor numbers have also gone down. But again, we're looking to hire instructors to help us teach those important classes that need to be taught every semester.
Yeah, that's the balance. I want to make a final comment if I may. Yeah, okay. So once again, thanks everyone here and in the Zoom land for being here and giving me an opportunity to discuss things with you. And as I said, I'm very, very impressed the kind of interactions you had with me and Dean Culbertson, and also the kind of questions and, thorough questions that you have asked. I'm very, very impressed. One thing I'll bring to your attention is that talking to the students, seems like the folks who have participated and sent questions come from a few departments. I will ask you, of course, you will belong to a department, but I will ask you to make a decision for the college. This is a fee for the college. And so take your department hat off and put on your college hat and think how the all 22 departments and how all other students who are taking our intro classes, they are affected in their student success. So think about that broad picture when you make a decision for the fee. Thank you.
Awesome. Unless there are any questions, thank you both so much for your time and for putting this all together. We really appreciate it. Awesome. Yeah, give them a round of applause. All right. Oh, thank you very much. There we go.
Stay warm tonight.
Oh, yes. I'm holding on to my purple scarf.
I am a Florida native and this is not pleasant.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
Not quite.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, thank you all so much for sending those great questions and for asking some more great questions today. So what we're going to do now that all of our questions are over, number one, if you do think of any other questions that you have, please get them to me as soon as possible, especially if they require any sort of research, because we will be voting next meeting on this potential fee increase. So it's very important that we get those questions asked and answered as soon as possible. But at this time, we are going to just start just a little bit of initial discussion. I don't want to get too far into the weeds today, but just kind of get general thoughts out there before we get into our next meeting where we can really dive in. So what that's going to look like, I'm just going to have a few people share what their thoughts are on what they've heard from the presentation and any of the questions that were asked, just the general vibe. As a reminder, what we will be voting on is, like, do we want this to be a thing? Are the merits of the fee proposal, is it needed? Is it something that the students want? Different things like that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor. People on Zoom, if you want to share, feel free to use the raise hand feature, or you can type in the chat. Either one works there. And yeah, I will go ahead and open it up. I'll ask at least 3 people to share. Garrison, we'll start with you.
So I understand, I see a lot of the positives coming from this. Obviously, more money for the college is good. Being able to fund and provide better lab equipment, all that good stuff. The biggest concern that I have is the retention rates. I asked that question specifically because he made it a really big point in his initial presentation, and still looking at that data, I don't see a direct correlation between the student fee increase and an increase in retention rates. It goes down and then it goes back up about 3-4 years after the fact. To me, that just, I don't see the correlation. Maybe it affected it, maybe it didn't. And the other concern, I guess, that I have is, as he stated, the population is going to spike in 2026. And I believe it's every 3 years that they review this again. Yeah. I'm concerned with the influx of students and what we're doing for recruitment and other means of funding this than a fee, especially when retention rates are in question.
Yeah, one quick clarification I do want to make just regards to the 3-year fee review. Technically, there is a fee review every 3 years, but it is not like this process. That is done with the Tuition and Fees Strategies Committee. And the only thing needed for like approval to renew the fee is if the college is spending the money on what they said they would, essentially. So here in 3 years, say that say that we pass this fee increase and in 3 years, we all hate it. That is not a factor in our decision. It is purely if they are spending it on what they said they would. So that when they say review, is it a review technically? But it isn't quite a full fee review, full scope. So yeah, thank you for sharing those thoughts, Garrison. Anyone else in the room or anyone on Zoom want to share your initial thoughts? Max? Well, yeah, so I totally agree with you, Garrison. Like that was probably one of the biggest stretches out of Dean Chakrabarty's pitch was increase in retention rates correlated to the fee increase. That's pretty much bogus. That was a reach. I don't blame him for it, but it was a reach. But like I'm still, so I think I'm in favor. I know, shocker. Only because, not because of retention rates. I definitely think it's more about student experience and being able to actually like fix some of the problems, because there are problems in like not being able to fund some of the stuff, the lab supplies, like just lab supplies for everybody. And that's not just like science labs, that goes to a lot of different things. That is a big part. Things I am skeptical of, mainly, so like travel and research, undergraduate research scholarships, there's tons of other opportunities on campus that provide a lot of that. He listed a ton of bullet points that do exactly that. So I'm quite skeptical about the need to really increase those. But the rest of the line items, equipment, undergraduate learning assistants, I basically lump in the same category as GTA supplements. Like anthropology doesn't have grad students. Like those graduate or those undergrad learning assistants are pretty cool and useful and are needed to help teach sections of class. So all of that is good. I did the math last week and basically tried to figure up, what was I trying to figure up? The percentage of the GTA's supplementation versus like their benefit to student work under the suspicion that fees were being used to fund much more of their total compensation than time they had spent actually serving students. I was wrong. It was actually like 50-50. And that's why I asked some of those questions. So crap, he was actually right on like their ratio of how much GTA supplementation is kind of needed / appropriate given how much service they provide to students. So I'm all on board for all of that. And looking at the broader picture, I think out of all of the places on campus that probably have room to garner more, like a higher percentage of money, the art sci fee is probably underutilized for how much the need it has. Like there's other places on campus that just, they're already maxed out, and the art sci fee I don't see as one of those. I see the art sci fee as like having room to increase, knowing that I am an art sci student, I am willing to pay more on that per credit hour fee in order to fund a higher quality or like fix some of the problems that I see within the college. And I think there's room to do that before we hit to fluff point. That's my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I want to kind of give a perspective as somebody who does not like looking at math. I look at it and I feel like it goes right over my head. I had a lot of concerns, first when I heard about this fee increase. I mean, you're asking, it is a couple $100s, but you're also asking students to pay that in the middle of a pandemic. And like, even though we've been doing this for a little bit, it's still affecting us, our economy. And so how is that going to affect new students coming here? I know I almost didn't, I'm out of state, by the way, so I can give an out of state perspective. I almost did not come to K-State because it was really expensive for me to come here. I had to wait until I got a scholarship to come here before I knew that K-State was where I was going to come. And so I just fear that, especially with other schools now offering in-state for a lot of out-of-state students, that this couple of $100s might steer some students away from coming to K-State just because, for example, I could have gone to Arkansas for about half of what I came to K-State with. I mean, I love K-State and that's why I decided to do it. But other people, it might not come down to that. It might seriously just come down with how much money that they're going to be spending on that. So just think about that. I'm not sure how I feel. I feel like I need to kind of sit on it for a little bit. But yeah, that's just kind of my thought process. I would hate for students not to come here because they can go to Arkansas or like KU for cheaper.
What is kind of like the comparison of K-State's fees kind of in general, but arts and sciences, because that's what we're talking about, compared to other Big 12 schools?
It's a very interesting question. Do you have anything, Marta?
I don't know. I mean, I can kind of give a perspective. Like my tuition without my scholarship is about, gosh, $28,000, $30,000 a year. I could have gone to Arkansas for like 12, 15. Like, I don't know, that has nothing to do with what you just asked, but like, that's just the different tuition that I could have paid at Arkansas versus K-State. I know it's not a Big 12 school, but yeah, whatever.
No, and yeah, and just like in defense, like from my perspective, I don't think students look at college fees. There might be one in the blue moon who's able to like know enough and dig into that, but I don't think that's a big enough comparison point that they'll actually see that when deciding between colleges. And yeah. Yeah, but it's on the scale of a couple $100 versus that's all just the difference between out of state and state tuition.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you both for your thoughts. I'm going to read this comment from Michelle really quick, just so we make sure that's on the recording. What'd you say? Yeah, just to be sure that it's on there for that. Yeah, so just feeling like it would be hurting the college and everyone who attends here by not voting for the fee increase because we'll need new equipment, especially the computers. I will say that the only alternative is an increase in the tuition, and that would be a lot course. And I believe they will spend the money on what they say they will. I don't believe that we should simple this down because we do not want to pay a couple $100 a year or more. We do need quality GTAs and we need this funding, and it will actually cost us less than a tuition increase. Every student here takes intro classes, and a lot of those are through the College of Arts and Sciences and the K-State 8. Scroll. But I understand everyone's hesitation. I cannot see what I'm typing for some reason, so I apologize for any typos. You are totally good. And then if it was a huge increase, I would be much more resistant, but it's a small increase. I work and take out loans to be here. Also, I owe over $250,000 after I finish my degree. And what I'm saying is this will add $1,600. There we go. So just so that's on the recording. Yeah, thank you everyone for your thoughts on that. If anyone wants to share any more, we can, but we can also, Slava, go ahead.
So this is not an overall thought, but what you were kind of saying about travel, because like I have a lot of undergraduate collaborators in my lab, and like, so I don't know if we would vote no, would the arts and science travel funding go down, or would it just not increase? I don't know.
Yeah. So gotcha. So I believe that it would stay the same. Like this wouldn't necessarily have a direct impact. The college can choose to like shift funding slightly, I believe, but yeah, Max.
But that's also like he did show the previous heights in like 2017 when they had way bigger allocations for those buckets. So it stayed the same relative to the last 1 or 2 years, but that's a big decrease from what it was before. So you can weigh that however you want.
So yeah, so I'm not commenting on in terms of where the money's going, but in terms of we just had a conference recently. We had a lot of undergraduates collaborators go, and they got the arts and science funding. And I know that for a lot of them, if like, you know, and it covers most of it, not always all of it, because this year is like in San Francisco, which is a little bit was pricier. But I know there's a real big advantage to students being able to do that in terms of them getting to grad school, and then, you know, but now they want to come here because there's that kind of funding. So I don't know how this vote affects that per se, but, you know, I know you said there's some other places. I know like our department has some funding, but I know our students went to our department and then arts and sciences, and I'm sure there's maybe other stuff outside of it, but it is important if we can maintain that.
All righty. Yeah, Garrison.
But the one other comment that I had, because Michelle's post reminded me of it, was that I wholly expect them to utilize this money on equipment, on renovating things. My only question is what specifically, because like I'm a German language. I take a lot of classes in Eisenhower. Eisenhower has asbestos tiles.
Yeah, the place is.
It is falling apart. And that is directly responsible for arts, like arts and sciences is responsible for that building and what goes on in that building. And it's not just the students, it's like the teachers' labs, a lot of GTAs have offices there. Like that's it, the conditions there are far below suboptimal. And so stuff like that is what I want to make sure actually gets covered, not just like we replaced a year-old microscope.
Yeah, for sure. And the only thing I would add to that is there's a lot of, with the Kansas Board of Regents, just like lacks of deferred maintenance costs coming from the legislature and different things like that, which could be a reason, not to say that it's not important or anything, but that might be a reason for a lot of building type of stuff too. Max.
And I'll just also add, like, I wouldn't expect any of this money to go towards building costs. Like, that's not what the amount that this is dealing with is looking towards. That's more in the terms of like that really big philanthropy gifts. Those can sometimes go towards buildings. Like that's a university operations level. Like this is not the amount of money that's needed to fix that kind of stuff. So like, that's definitely like good concerns and like should be communicated, but student fees don't usually go towards building costs. Waters in the College of Ag can speak to that.
So water is also very sketchy.
All righty. So I know we're getting a little bit close to time here, so we'll probably wrap it up for today. Quick recap. Please make sure if you have any further questions for Dean Chakrabarty or just anything about the process in general about what will be happening next meeting or anything, please reach out to me as soon as possible and I will try to get those answered for you. As a reminder, next meeting, we will be having more discussion. It'll be a little bit more formal than today. And we'll actually be voting on whether to approve or deny this fee increase. So the only other thing for you is I actually won't be here next week. So Adrian will be chairing next week. I'll be in DC advocating and lobbying for higher ed type stuff. So that'll be really cool. But yeah, Adrian will do a great job. And so that discussion will be happening next week. Max?
Can you remind us of the timeline of when this decision needs to be made and what the process is if we say we don't want to fund the full amount of the fee increase, but want to fund a partial amount, like amendments, bargaining with Dean Chakrabarty and Dean Culbertson, what that process back and forth looks like?
Yeah. So we can give so basically if we don't like approve or deny just straight up, we can kind of give some, I don't want to call them informal, but like kind of negotiative type of proposals. So we can say, we like this much, we kind of don't like this much. Those are a little bit less concrete because those are then just going to the provost and the university president as recommendations at that point. And they have a little bit more leeway there. So, but yeah, we can give our recommendation on about anything. But generally, and the last time this was done was 4 years ago, a CTC. It was just a straight approval or deny is how that process worked. So yeah, any other questions for me in the meeting while I'll be here at that point?
That decision, does that have to be made next week? Or
Oh,
we have more time?
thank you very much for that. So that timeline that we sent you at the very beginning, this has to be done by the April meeting of the Kansas Board of Regents so that we can get that submitted and everything. So yeah, if it needs to take a month, we can add extra meetings if we'd like to. But as of right now, just on our schedule that was sent out, we'll be voting next week. That motion has to be made at some point during the meeting. So I won't or I guess Adrian won't just stop the meeting and be like, everyone vote. We want to make sure the committee feels comfortable at that time. So yeah. Any other questions or anything? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Please reach out to me if you have any questions and have a great rest of your week. Thank you all so much for being here.
I know.
You know I have no clue.
Look at my dinner.
That's a lovely dinner.
Rice and ranch. I'm actually really excited for it.
What the frick is fucking?
It's ranch and ketchup mixed together. Don't no.